Business up top.
Relaxation down the bottom.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're live, baby.
Oh, people are watching how the sausage gets made. Make these lights green. Turn on Saturn.
Oh, you've already got a chatter. Doug Wyatt.
Whoa, Doug's in town.
Is that?
Say hi. Say Taylor says hi. He's jumping on in 2 seconds.
Well, he just heard you said that.
Oh. Hi, Doug.
I can't fucking tell. Taylor says he.
Taylor says
he.
Nay.
Oh, jeez.
We're streaming because my dad said.
Yeah.
My dad said
That would be a great idea.
We should open the room earlier and let people file in before we start. So I don't see Doug's comment on here, because I came in
Maybe
late.
it's from yesterday.
Or I came in late, so it's not showing me back comments. That's probably what it is. Oh, and you commented everywhere.
Yeah, I just can't type.
Tony boy, oh my, good morning, peasants. We're trying something new. I don't think we can keep it up because, we usually aren't like in here till 6:29. But we're opening the room a couple minutes early to let people file in, I guess. Come on in. Trying something new. Always innovating. You got to stay one step ahead of AI.
We probably need a different camera angle.
Oh,
one that just like shows the whole room. Just kind of.
That's a great idea. We should do that in the new studio, in the bunker.
Maybe we should be in here doing like pull-ups and stuff.
Yeah.
Getting ripped.
What we want you to think we're doing.
Yeah. But really, we're wearing sweatpants.
It's really Sweatpant Wednesday.
Sweatpant leather.
Oh my gosh. Is my microphone better here? Oh, I know what. I'm going to change my sound while I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Boom, look at that. I'm going to be ready to go. Good morning, Maraízo from California. Good morning, Carlitos, Pony Boy, of course, and Mr. Wyatt. Welcome, welcome.
Yeah, we might get all our chats.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Before the show starts.
This is better than anything. Yeah, chat.
Should have been doing this the whole time.
What are we thinking? Making it complicated for people? My wife, she's, we've got some real dedicated show listeners. I really love it. Close family and friends. But my wife, she'll like wake up halfway through our show and start catching it and get ready. And then at the end, she's always disappointed. And then she's like, I can go back and listen to the beginning. So she goes back and loops it back to the beginning. Oh, man. So there's some stories that we're not covering today. Catherine Herridge has a whole bunch of 9/11 videos and shocking stuff. Again, stuff tying Saudi Arabia to the 9/11 attacks with their undercover operatives walking around. And it's... I'm almost more comfortable just being like 9/11 is an inside job and leaving it at that. You know what I mean? Like you get into the weeds on something that old and you're like, holy cow, man, these people, like whoever orchestrated 9/11 killed tens of millions of people around the world. Like they set off dominoes that just caused untold amounts of havoc and blowback and holy smokes. And it's baked into the cake. It's like Pearl Harbor. Doesn't even matter. Doesn't even matter who started it or why it happened or who was dereliction of duty. World War II happened. You know what I mean? If it weren't for that, geez. Anyways, we're not covering that. The other thing that happened a ton yesterday, and we'll only mention it briefly, is there was a whole hearing on UFO disclosures, like legit, like Lockheed Martin has the UFO. Here's a video of us shooting a Hellfire missile at one of these, UFOs. Took a full strike and didn't go down. Just kept going. Which, by the way, is the most powerful air-to-air missile we have, which means something's flying around in our atmosphere that we can't knock out of the sky. It's pretty scary. Oh, anyways. All right. It's intro time. Guys, stick with us for 50 seconds.
And when they went to the queen to tell her her subjects had no bread, do you know what she said?
Let them eat cake. Who took the bomb?
We're getting screwed, man. Every time we turn around, we're getting screwed. Oh, the revolution's going to be through podcasting for sure. That's the only way we talk. It's the little guys that take the brunt of everything. It's got to stop. Peasants, man. We're just peasants. Every one of us. You watch those old movies, you see the peasants in the background with the kings and queens walking around. We're those people. We're those people. Good morning, peasants. Welcome to another episode of The Peasant's Perspective, the official beginning. We did something today that ended up being awesome, and all of you were here for it. Except for the one person who just joined now. We opened the room about 5 minutes early. By room, I mean podcast, to allow people to join in. And it worked great. We got all of our regulars in right before the show. It's awesome. So you guys are here for the beginning. Usually right now I'm talking to 1, 2, 3, 4 people slowly trickling in. So that's awesome. So we're going to jump right in and go ahead and do an ad read. Why not? We're 4 seconds into the show.
If you haven't already, make sure you download the Rumble app. It's free, simple to use, and the best way to stay connected to the content you want. Once you've got it, search for my channel and hit follow. That way you'll get a notification every time you go live. No missed shows, no extra steps. You can grab it right now using the link in the description or the pinned live chat. Download it to your phone and you're ready to go. And if you prefer watching on the big screen, Rumble is available on all the major streaming devices and smart TVs. Just search for Rumble, follow the channel, and be part of the action.
Awesome. I can't believe that. And you know what? You're going to need Rumble Premium because we've got such a big, long show today that I'm sure we're going to have a bunch of content in the private site. So go check it out. Okay. Oh my gosh. Yesterday was a wild day. And I say that day after day. We are in an acceleration period. I mean, I've been in the news cycle watching it day to day, minute to minute, it seems like for almost 5 years. I mean,
you know how as you get older, time seems to move faster?
Yeah.
I think that's what's happening with the activity in the world. It's just so much more is happening so much faster.
Something's happening. Even when I was in prison, I was the inmate that always walked around with one earbud in. Everywhere I went, I had radio on. And part of it was I just didn't want to be there. So at least I could be with Glenn Beck or Clay and Buck or Bongino in the afternoon. I knew exactly who I was tuning into every minute of the day.
I wonder how many people in there were like, check out the J6 spook.
Yeah.
Don't worry about him. He's one of those J6 guys.
So one of the things I said we're not going to cover in the show today that now we're going to talk about in the show is 9/11. Catherine Herridge has been putting out a bunch of information on it. I'm not deep diving on it yet. It's under videos of Saudi operatives walking around on before 9/11, casing the towers. It's basically revelation. Saudi was behind it, which we've known because of the redacted pages in the 9/11 report, blah, 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 blah. But now we're kind of getting the goods. We are definitely in a presidency of transparency. Carlitz mentions, one day we'll know the truth about 9/11. I was in Navy flight school watching it on TV at sick bay. They sure got us fired up that week at NAS Pensacola. Oh, I bet you did. You got unfiltered propaganda.
I remember everyone is like, let's go. We got to mow them down.
Yeah. Now, yesterday, Israel took a launch, fired missiles at a building in Qatar. That's Doha, right? And that's where I basically view Doha as the CIA headquarters. I don't know about anybody else, but it's not Quantico. It's
apparently they got to get rid of some files.
So Trump posted this. He said, this morning, the Trump administration was notified by the United States military that Israel was attacking Hamas, which, very unfortunately, was located in a section of Doha, the capital of Qatar. This was a decision made by Prime Minister Netanyahu. This was not a decision made by me, unilaterally bombing inside Qatar, a sovereign nation and close ally of the United States that is working very hard and bravely taking risks with us to broker peace, does not advance Israel or America's goals. Now, Qatar is kind of the funder of the Muslim Brotherhood, who's the funder of Hamas. And so the strike inside of Qatar was supposed to take Hamas leadership. Reporting is coming back that they didn't take out leadership. They took out some of their security guards and a few family members and one actual Qatari citizen that was a security guard. Shouldn't have been killed. However, However, eliminating Hamas, continuing with what Trump wrote, who have profited off the misery of those living in Gaza, is a worthy goal. I immediately directed Special Envoy Steve Witkoff to inform the Qataris that the impending attack, which he did, however, unfortunately too late to stop the attack. I view Qatar as a strong ally and friend of the U.S. and feel very badly about the location of the attack. I want all of the hostages and bodies of the dead released and this war to end now. I also spoke to Prime Minister Netanyahu after the attack. The Prime Minister told me that he wants to make peace. I believe this unfortunate incident could serve as an opportunity for peace. I also spoke to Emir and Prime Minister of Qatar and thanked them for the support and friendship of our country. I assured them that such thing will not happen again on their soil. I've directed Secretary of State Marco Rubio to finalize a defense cooperation agreement with Qatar. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay. So Israel didn't tell us that they were attacking Qatar, a sovereign nation, till essentially planes were in the air. Too late to stop it. Put the burden on the United States to inform Qatar. Oh, by the way, that smoldering building in the middle of your downtown, that was Israel. Sorry about that, but if you don't mind not retaliating, we'll go ahead and fire up a defense agreement so this won't happen again. Dude, Israel is a mess. They are entangling us everywhere.
Yeah.
They obviously can't fight their own fights.
I was actually worried about, are we really not involved?
Yeah. Are we really not involved? Who knows? Again,
yeah.
You know, apparently the IDF is putting out some big report that's supposed to be scathing towards Netanyahu. The IDF is essentially like the Army Reserve, right? They're not all active duty and they're exhausted. Okay?
I'll bet.
They are tired of running in rubble. So, yeah, I don't know, man. Like this kind of stuff, it's just war, unintended consequences. This is why we sue for peace and we try to get out of these situations. You know, oh, by the way, remember when Israel started attacking Iran and then we had to come in and quote unquote finish the 12-day war, right?
Yeah.
So that attack started right when the United States was about to start negotiating with the negotiation team. So the bombing started, negotiations ended, then the United States had to get involved. Well, apparently Hamas was ready to negotiate. And guess who they were trying to target? The negotiation team. And where were they trying to negotiate from? Qatar. So this is, Steve Bannon points this out, this is now their MO. Oh, hey, we're about to get peace. We're about to get a diplomatic solution, a ceasefire. Oh, bomb the negotiators.
Yeah. So I was hearing that the only people that could broker some kind of a peace deal were the people that were the targets.
Exactly. That's it's like
what the heck?
And there's 2 million people, Gazans, who no one wants to take. Jordan doesn't want them. Egypt doesn't want them. Nobody wants them. Syria doesn't want them. Nobody wants the Palestinians. Okay. Well, you can't just sit and kill them all. And that's basically the trajectory that Israel's headed is. It's just a war of attrition. Someone's going to die. Right. There's nowhere for these people to go. You've got to find a way to path to peace.
But the second that we might have some peace, it's like, kill the negotiators quick.
Yeah. I mean,
we got to keep this thing rolling.
I'm not a non-supporter of Israel, but I think Israel as a nation right now is a net negative.
Yeah.
You know, I don't see them as a net positive in the world. And I see our entanglement with them as a mess. We're trying to protect the Judeo-Christian ethic. We're trying to protect our principles through the nation of Israel, which doesn't share those principles with us, right? They were one of the leading countries for COVID lockdowns, leading countries for mask mandates, one of the highest all-cause mortality rate increases post-COVID. Netanyahu was the first person to congratulate Joe Biden on his election victory.
This is one of the biggest smoke screens for Americans. I mean, because Americans I would say most Americans believe that we are protecting and supporting a country full of just innocent sheep
and democracy lovers. And
right.
Yeah. It's not
That's
really
not what's happening at all.
Yeah. They're democracy. Yes. They're a multicultural society. You can be other religions and live in Israel. That is true. Like they're tolerant in that regard. You know what I mean? Like,
but they got to have 16s and they're using them.
Yeah. But heaven forbid you get on their bad side of their politics. Holy shit. So, yeah, I mean, I hate to go full Kanye so early in the morning.
Exactly.
All right. This report is really disturbing. And this is why I'm asking you, our loyal listeners who tune in day after day, please hit the repost button on Rumble. Okay. If you're on YouTube, hit the repost button. Make a comment, not just in the chats, which we love and appreciate. Let me check in on the chats. Hey, Pony Boy. At this point, Israel handled their own. let Israel handle their own shite. They keep starting wars everywhere. They've had us knock off everyone on their list prior to 9/11. I know, right? Everyone had a WMD. I know, right? Like, they've been chasing WMDs all over the Middle East. So this next article here is really disturbing. And this is why I so desperately want you guys to help us share the show. The environment for podcasting is very different than it was 10 years ago, very different than it was 5 years ago. And this is why. Let me just put this into context. 10 years ago, if we would have done 150 continuous episodes like we've done, we'd have had tens of thousands of subscribers already. We'd have probably been, maybe not profit positive, because at the time the income in podcasting wasn't quite there, but we'd have had a much larger influence and sphere of influence online. Okay.
We'd have a huge base.
Huge base, right? To be monetized in the future. 5 years ago, we would have been able to monetize our base. We did grow. We had a larger audience when we came off the air 5 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever the math ends up being. We had a much larger base, totally not monetizable at that time. Now we have a much smaller base that's monetized. I don't know, go figure. The mechanics of podcasting have gotten better, but also so is technology, and so has the volume of people doing stuff like this, right? So I know there's not a lot of other podcasts out there that aren't, quote, mainstream, that broadcast every day like we do, especially at the high quality that we have, right?
Well, there are a few, but you know them all because they have big names now.
Yeah, they have big names. Now, in the podcast environment, we're fighting. Everybody's only got 24 hours a day. So we're fighting for this hour and a half that you're spending with us. And I recognize not everybody every day can spend an hour and a half, but I know a lot of people check in 15, 20, 30 minutes at a time. I know. I see it on the analytics reports, right? We have a much larger audience than we do that stay through the whole show. It's actually funny as I watch the numbers move. I'm like, 5 people are logging off, 7 people logging on, 4 people logging off. We kind of do this thing, right? In the live show. And then, of course, throughout the day, people catch up. Well, Hollywood Reporter reports 5,000 podcasts, 3,000 episodes a week at $1 cost per episode, behind an AI startup's business plan. Former Woodry executive Jeanine Wright, a leading new firm, Inception Point AI, that is betting on flooding the zone with audio content. I think that people who are still referring to AI-generated content as AI slop are probably lazy Luddites. So these are AI-generated hosts of certain podcasts. Why pay a celebrity podcast host millions when you can create your own AI? Because I got 5 kids to feed. That's why. Inception Point AI is attempting to do just that as the company builds a stable of AI talent to host podcasts and eventually become broader influencers across social media, literature, and more, amid the high cost of producing a narrative podcast and pricey short-term contracts for popular hosts. The idea here is being able to own, scale, and control talent like those off-the-cuff humans, unlike those off-the-cuff humans, and produce shows at a minimal cost. We believe that in the near future, half of the people on the planet will be AI. Okay. I want to show you something.
You know, this is great because this is Hollywood to the extreme. They're making a complete fake Hollywood where Hollywood is already fake.
Okay. I want to point something out here. This is actually a little bit of a deeper issue. So I've busted out my Black's Law Dictionary that I keep right behind me all the time, because you always got to know what the legalese language is telling us.
In case you need to look up hard words.
Yeah. So I'm looking up the word people. Okay. And it says,
I thought you were going to look up constituents.
No, I'm looking up the word people because it says half of all people on the planet will be AI. So there's a difference between people and persons. They didn't say half of all persons. Okay. So people, a state, as in the state of New York, a nation in its collective and political capacity, the aggregate or mass of the individuals who constitute the state. In a more restrictive sense, is generally used in constitutional law, the entire body of those citizens or of a state or nation who are invested with political power for political purposes. Okay. Where in here did it say anything about AI being a part of the state or the mass of citizens? There's another definition here that you can look at with people, and one of the last words is a being. So they're trying to claim that AI is a being instead of a person or a vessel, right? Or a people. Excuse me, person. I just find that interesting. AI in the company that's bringing those people to life, said CEO Jeanine Wright, who was previously chief operating officer of podcasting company Wondery, who has recently had to reorganize under the changing podcast landscape. The company is able to produce each episode for $1 or less. I got to tell you guys, I mean, it it costs us money, but essentially it's free, right? Depending on the length and complexity, and attach programmatic advertising to it. This generally means that if 20 people listen to that podcast, the company made a profit on that episode without factoring in overhead. Inception Point AI already has more than 5,000 shows. I only have one. Jeez. We only got one, Ron. They have 5,000 shows across its Quiet Please podcast network. Don't ever subscribe to anything in their network. And produces more than 3,000 episodes a week.
Oh, man.
I thought we were doing good at 5. Okay. A week. Collectively, the network has seen 10 million downloads. We're only at 32,000 since September 2023. It takes about an hour to create an episode from coming up with the idea to getting it out in the world. Wow. The company produces different levels of podcasts. The lowest level involves weather reports or various geographic areas or simple biographies, and higher levels involving subject area podcasts hosted by about one of 50 AI personalities they've created, including food expert Claire Delish, gardener and nature expert Nigel Thistledown, and Ollie Bennett, who covers offbeat sports. Those are fake people. Those are AI personalities. You're giving your time to the machine. We're supposed to educate the machine, not it educate us. Okay. As for now, it stacks up against, how does it stack up against human podcasts? I think that people who are still referring to all AI generated content as AI slop are probably lazy Luddites, because there's a lot of really good stuff out there, right? The company has been recently experimenting, and listen to this, with short-term videos and creating social media profiles for the AI personalities in the hopes of eventually turning some into influencers. And these guys won't go off the rails either. They won't suddenly find Jesus one day and start talking about Del Brigtree's COVID analysis, right? Wright hopes to create thousands more personalities in the near future to see what personalities stick. The team, in the midst of navigating the ethics around creating these AI personalities, uses technology advances. Each host now identifies themselves as being AI at the top of the episode. Well, thank you. We're not AI, by the way, John, listener out there. They've stayed away from having the hosts invent their own backstories for now. Oh, no. But that could come. What? Wright says he could eventually imagine having hosts with listeners or sing happy birthday to them. And then there's wariness about diving in too deep. I'm not going to create a personality that somebody has a deep relationship with, said William Corbin. You can have a deep relationship with me. Just tune in every day. He added, the company host does not do hard news at this point, but Wright says they might in the future. Rachel Maddow's pretty expensive. Wouldn't be hard to replace.
Yeah, exactly.
The idea behind the company came after Corbin accidentally developed a hit podcast during the pandemic in which he read daily CDC reports and then branched out into weather, sports, and other news. That's the problem. We're going way too in depth. We should just read government reports. Okay. He says the company now consists of a team of 8 with 4 working with content. Podcast topics are selected with the help of AI based on Google and social media trends, and then the team may launch 5 different versions of the show with different titles to see what performs best. The podcasts are often titled after simple SEO search terms such as whales, so they're discoverable. The shows that stick can then be replicated and scaled. We might make a pollen podcast that maybe only 50 people listen to, but I'm already at unit profitability, so then maybe I can make 500 pollen report podcasts, Wright said. The content...
Oh, jeez. What? Okay. Hey, Taylor.
Hit repost now, folks. Hit repost now. Share with all your friends. We're real.
Quick. Remember when you were kids, how many channels could you watch? How many channels do you have to pick from?
5.
And how many movies were there?
I mean, only what they had at the local gas station in their rental sections. Maybe
right.
40.
And you've probably seen all the movies that you wanted to.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean,
every now and then you throw out a new one from the 80s I'd never heard.
Right. And then people go to school and everybody has seen all the same movies and everybody knows all the same references and everybody can have this conversation where they talk in code, like slogans or sayings from movies or whatever. Well, I remember when you were like a teenager, or I don't know, maybe it was earlier for you. Maybe you're too young for this. But do you remember the point in time when you realized that there were too many movies to watch?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I remember that moment, too, where I realized, oh, shoot, they're making more content than I could ever possibly see.
I could never catch up. Yeah.
Yeah. And well, now this is like we're just making AI trash to fill. Remember? Okay. Think about it this way. You had 4 channels you could watch on TV. And then when cable came out and you had MTV and then 1,000 other channels. Well, you can't possibly watch all that crap.
No.
And there's so many of these channels that you probably never even seen or heard of, because who's even watching this stuff? Well, now we're going to create AI generated channels to fill the airwaves even full of trash that nobody could possibly watch.
3,000 a day.
Yeah.
Okay. There was a time where there weren't 3,000 podcast titles.
Right.
Now they're putting 3,000 pollen reports a day.
Right. There used to be 3 TV channels, period. 3.
I always thought that we were competing with the Joe Rogans, the Glenn Becks, even the Rush Limbaughs, right? And people over time have said, I started listening to your show and I stopped listening to War Room, or I stopped listening to Glenn Beck, or I stopped listening to Rush. Rest in peace before he died. EIB. And so I was like, we're, people have an hour, 2 max a day to give to topics like this and time like this. And I thought that's what we were competing with. Now I realize, no, I'm competing with pollen reports, right? I'm competing with the volume. You've got to find us. So
the other thing about this is if they go ahead and produce all these channels and someday they start producing some hard content, then they will replace Cuomo and Maddow and whoever. And the thing is, if these things catch on as mainstream, they can say whatever they want. Yeah. And there will be zero filter.
It's Truman Show. And because it's AI, they can just put in a prompt that says, don't mention autism, don't mention Saudi Arabia, don't mention XYZ. And it just gets buried. If you
and you think that the AI content, the video, the host is going to be like,
wink, wink. No. Again, the future is podcasters and influencers who have up to 1,000 people that they can influence directly. That's the future. Like, gone are the days of people aspiring to be as big as a Joe Rogan. He's a first comer. He's mover and shaker. When he passes away, his audience is going to diffuse, just like what happened with Rush Limbaugh. 30 million people a day tuned into that guy for 3 hours a day. Once he left, that 30 million person audience split to 10 different people to fill in his showtimes.
And Dan Bongino picked up a slice of them, but he didn't get them all.
And Clay and Buck and Dana Lau. There was like 4 or 5 different people that picked up his time slots in all of the syndicated radio stations. Exactly. Because there were some areas where he was on 2 stations in one market.
Oh, yeah.
So again, the future belongs to the small batch podcasters, which we are. So share the show, guys. We're finding our tribe. Literally, we're finding our peasants. So this is Elon Musk talking about government and basically what his little stint in government was like. And he's got a little bit of a dour outlook, in my opinion.
So no more Washington, D.C. You're back at work. You're focused. Yeah.
I haven't been to D.C. since May.
Okay.
That was a hell of a side quest.
That was a good side. Any lessons from your time in Washington, D.C.?
The government is basically unfixable.
Yeah.
Elon, only.
I applaud David's noble efforts in this. It's good to have talented people in the administration, but at the end of the day, if you look at our national debt, which is insanely high, the interest payments exceed the Defense Department. War Department budget, and they keep rising. So if AI and robots don't solve our national debt, we're toast.
Well, how's AI and robots going to solve our national debt if they're taking all the good podcasting positions? That's, in my opinion, that's kind of dour. The government can't be fixed. I probably could have pulled that one out of my hat. I mean, why not? If you're going to take bets, I'd take bets on it not getting fixed. However, I would also take bets on the inertia of it continuing it on into perpetuity throughout the rest of our lives. Okay. So, but he's leaning, and he said this when he left the administration, AI and robots, right? We have to grow out of the debt. The only solution to the credit card problem we have is make more money, right? It's that simple. And so that's pretty interesting. Fun to hear from him again, though, on the political front. Has stayed quiet. Now, there was this report coming out of News Nation, and again, just another little thing, and I wanted to point something out to everybody. There is another outbreak happening.
Known for biting people on the face, is spreading a potentially dangerous infection across the country, and the CDC says thousands could be infected and not even know about it. Chagas disease is spread by the so-called kissing bug. It's now been found in 32 states, with 8 states reporting confirmed infections. That includes Texas, which is where we find News Nation's Xavier Walton. Xavier, tell us more about this kissing bug and how concerned we should all be about it.
Marky, good morning. Yeah, a certain level of concern. And the kissing bug, it sounds sweet, but health officials are worried or concerned that it could potentially have a deadly bite to it. The official name, the insect scientific name, is the triatomine, but it's often called the kissing bug because it bites around the face. Some carry a parasite that causes Chagas disease, like you just mentioned, rare but dangerous if untreated, especially for kids. The CDC estimates hundreds of thousands in the U.S. may be infected, many without even knowing it. Infected people have been found in 8 states, mostly across the South, with Texas being the hardest hit. Pets, here's the other thing, can also be at risk with animal cases confirmed in states. You see they're shaded in the darker colors, if you will. The disease doesn't spread person to person like a common cold. You have to be bitten by an infected bug, and that is uncommon. Still, the CDC has alerted doctors across the country to watch out for it.
Okay, so we got another bug virus going around. They're saying it's caused by a parasite. That's all fine and dandy. And yesterday, there was a slew of doctors that went and talked to the Senate about COVID and vaccines and a whole range of health issues. It was stunning. This wasn't from that, but this was from the hearing that RFK did earlier in the week. And I just want to make a connection here that people don't often
move on.
make. There's a disease called Lyme disease. Another one of these don't get bit by the bug diseases. Did you know Lyme disease is completely manufactured in a lab? It's a total bioweapon and doesn't occur in nature and didn't occur in nature. Did you know that?
I did, but only because I know you, Taylor.
Because every single person who's been affected with Lyme disease can draw a straight line back to a lab called Fort Detrick.
Move on. Did you say that Lyme disease is highly likely a materially engineered bioweapon? I made sure I put in the highly likely. Did you say Lyme disease is a highly likely militarily engineered bioweapon?
I probably did say that.
Did you say that?
And that's what the developer of
I
Lyme
want all of
disease
our colleagues to hear it, Mr. Kennedy. I want them to hear it. You said yes. Did you say that exposure to pesticides? Move on. Did you say that Lyme?
He goes, yes. But you can't say that. This is a senator covering for the government. Okay? You have a disease that was created by the military, put into ticks, and spread into the Northeast just to see what the spread zone would be. And they had no antidote and treatment and couldn't stop it.
Dope.
And now it's in what, all 50 states?
Yeah.
And I personally know people who've had their lives wrecked by Lyme disease. It goes on and on forever with symptoms that are misdiagnosed, and you're constantly chasing down symptoms. It is horrible. Any claims for those people? Can they go back? This senator is pretty upset that he would say it's highly likely. The reality is it's pretty much been admitted. In fact, I mean, I'm only saying pretty much because I don't want to be held liable if somebody came after me.
It's pretty much unlikely that anything else happened.
It's pretty much unlikely that anything else happened. Exactly. So when do we get accountability for the medical malfeasance? This was brought up in the hearing yesterday. The COVID malfeasance, and the vaccine malfeasance, when do we actually get accountability? This is Dr. Toby Rogers, PhD, who's testifying in the Senate yesterday.
It's in my mouth, respectfully, Senator.
I'm asking the question.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So look, let's put it in the context of COVID. I've already talked about autism. Let's talk about COVID. The state, however you define that, the military, CDC, Tony Fauci, Ralph Barrick at the University of North Carolina.
I really appreciate, by the way, that he separates the state, however you define that, right? We as peasants, the state did it. No, the county did it. No, the state did it. No, the health department did it. It's all the state, man. You're all political subdivisions of the same it. You're just different colors of smoke monster.
Carolina created a weaponized virus, correct? Gain of function research. They contracted it out to China, and it caused a pandemic around the world once it was released. The government created a weaponized virus that then got out and caused a global pandemic. When are we going to have accountability for that? I generally don't understand why government officials are allowed to Engage in
Rogers,
gain of
I'm not
function
putting
research.
words in your mouth. I'm just quoting your words.
I would like to
And
have
I think
accountability for the COVID era, and I'd like to have accountability for the fact that the CDC has known since 1999 that vaccines cause autism, and they've covered it up for 26 years. How do we begin to have accountability? You want to call it something different? Truth commissions, criminal trials?
So
I would welcome
you're comparing.
We've known since 1999, since vaccines cause autism. When are we going to have accountability for that? When are we going to have accountability for the COVID? And Blumenthal's like, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. You don't need to. I'll put my own words in there. Right? That is a huge problem. But do you notice how they're sitting in a hearing and he can just say that now? He wouldn't have even gotten a hearing 4 years ago.
No.
Right?
And he'd be shut down last year.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. Now, a different doctor in the same hearing was talking to Senator Ron Johnson, and he started going off about how folks who choose not to be vaccinated are treated and how horrible it is. Again, for the first time ever, our voice is being heard. Now, I understand that we have many listeners, and many of our listeners, including people I love dearly, took the vaccine. This isn't a personal slight to you. We're only as good as the information we have. I debated getting the vaccine myself for a moment, right? Because you're looking at the data and you're like, you have all these people saying one thing, all these other people saying another, and it starts bringing into how much do I trust the government? What am I doing for society? Then you've got the pressures of job and family and work. Oh, it just goes on and on and on. So I don't fault anybody for making a decision to get the vaccine, right? You can't. We're only as good as the information we have. What I can fault is the leaders who withheld information, right? I've gotten plenty of vaccines. I'm pretty sure I'm fully vaccinated on whatever vaccine schedule is recommended for somebody my age.
Yeah, me too.
So it's not like I'm anti-vax. It's not like I can't see a world where you can get vaccinated, still maintain your mind and be healthy, right? Totally normal. Not everybody's vaccine side effect. However, I sure would like to know the risks. I've gotten a lot of vaccines and no one's ever once told me anything other than safe and effective. You know, I remember one time I got a tetanus shot, and as he had it in my arm, I said, well, what is this? And he goes, well, it's tetanus, diphtheria, and whatever else. And I was like, well, am I at risk for diphtheria or the other thing? Well, no. Well, then why are you giving me that? And the guy got all clammed up. Like, he was supposed to tell me what the shot was. Was supposed to tell, basic stuff. But he just forgot because whoever asks. And when I asked, as he had the vaccine in my arm, he felt really silly, right? And I was like, well, I don't know that I wanted the diphtheria side of the shot. Could I just get tetanus on its own? And you know what he said? Yes.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can. All right. So
hold on, Taylor, before you go on. I had a short stop in the hospital during COVID, and they wanted to know my status. And of course, I told them what my status was because it's important. I'm in a hospital, Everybody needs to be truthful and honest. Man, I got treated different. And one of the doctors even told me, you taking multivitamins? Yeah, you could probably just stop that. I was like, stop taking multivitamins? What kind of a doctor?
Your life ain't worth saving.
Yeah.
Probably stop that. All your medications, prescription, just stop that. You wear a seatbelt, got to knock that off.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And this goes into exactly what this doctor was saying to Ron Johnson.
There's nobody out there that you can talk about the way that the media and the medical profession talks about people that don't vaccinate. Throw them out of school, kick them out of their jobs. The way that those folks are treated, they're not to be lectured by anybody about civility.
Remember this
that is the height of absurdity. Absurdity. I mean, truly absurdity.
So
it's an insult on top of injury. That's what it is.
So I actually have one extra, and this is a genuine question, because it always popped up during COVID, and I have to ask the same vaccines. I asked repeatedly during COVID, if these things are so effective, why do you care whether somebody else gets vaccinated? I mean, I think that applies to that. I realize there's some children immunocompromised can't get vaccinated. I got that, but
Senator, do you know our firm has the largest practice in the country that represents children that need medical exemption. I will tell you, we don't have a single client who is immunocompromised. They're only susceptible to disease that could really injure them for the few that we vaccinated, but not the other 1,400 known pathogens. It doesn't exist. It's a myth. It's a myth, basically. But it's a way to bludgeon again the kids whose parents typically don't need these vaccines. Can I just say one thing about the autism bit, just because it's been bandied about? We sued the CDC for the studies that support that the vaccines given in the first month of life do not cause autism. We sued them because they wouldn't give it to us. We said, give us the studies that show that meningococcal.
Think about this. They claim that they have studies saying it doesn't cause autism, but they won't show them to anybody. Like, just the absurdity of that.
Well, hold on.
Oh, they don't cause autism. We've done studies. Hey, do you mind if I review those studies? No, those are top secret.
The most absurd part about this is there will be a whole segment of people that will just go, well, yeah, look at them. I mean, they have this. They said they had the studies.
Yeah. So can I get them? No. Okay. Can I sue you for them? Sure. Yeah. Sue us for them. Go ahead. How did that? Let's find out how it worked out when he sued him for the studies that they say they have that prove that vaccines don't cause COVID.
Vaccine, the polio vaccine, the Hep B vaccine, the Hib vaccine, and the Hep B vaccine. Those 5 vaccines don't cause autism. You know what they provided? None. We sued them in federal court. They ended up in stipulated order. They gave us 20 studies. Not one of them has to do with those vaccines. They're all MMR or they're all thimerosal. This notion that there's a mountain of studies out there that show vaccines of autism is ridiculous. And I've heard the measles death in Texas bandied about. We represent one of those families. We've seen the medical records. One of those kids, I can tell you for certain, did not die from measles. He died from hospital malfeasance. That's what he died from. He wasn't even having measles when he died, and we'll be putting out a report on that. And somebody else has reviewed the medical records of a second kid. I agree we shouldn't engage in fear mongering. And if we're talking about the overview of the scientific literature, instead of randomly looking at studies, we'll maybe start with the Institute of Medicine reviews of the entire body of literature from 1991, 94, 2012, the HRQ reports. And you could see how vacuous vaccine safety science is. I'll leave with one last point. Look, if vaccines are so safe, why are they the only consumer product where you cannot sue the manufacturer for injury to claim it was made safer? It's been 1980s, it's been over 30 years they're telling you Hep B safe, Hib safe, these are safe. You still need immunity? Okay, let me tell you my definition of vaccine, Senator. It's a product that causes so much injury that it has to have liability for the injuries that it's caused, immunity for the injuries that it's causing. That's what a vaccine is.
Wow. Redefinition of vaccines right there. Okay, so he's going at it. And here's another one. This is a doctor that explains, or he's being challenged by Blumenthal about basically what kind of evidence do you have, and are you even a doctor, right? And this is what. Oh, excuse me,
Mr. Siri.
Yeah, are you even a doctor?
We've been talking about medical issues. You're not a medical doctor, are you?
No, sir.
And you're not an immunologist or biologist or any kind of...
Or vaccinologist, no, but I depose them regularly, including the world's leading ones with regards to vaccines, and I have to make my claims based on actual evidence when I go to court with regards to vaccines. I don't get to rely on titles.
Oh!
Even Blumenthal saw that as a good one, man.
Yeah.
I have to go and represent my claims on evidence, not based on titles. I think I'm an immunologist and none of that information's true. No titles.
I'm a senator.
Information. Yeah. Or Dick Blumenthal. I'm a Vietnam vet. No, you're not. Okay, so this is same doctor as before. This is first time meeting Toby Rogers. Okay, so he's explaining what the problem is with autism it's a political economy problem. And I think this, again, as peasants, if you understand this, you can see a little bit better what's happening. You'll see the telltale signs. I saw this when Seattle reported a COVID death, that then the family went public and went, no, it was a motorcycle accident, right? If at worst, he had asymptomatic COVID. He was plenty healthy, plenty happy, having a great day, cruising down I-5 on his bullet bike. And
he died with COVID.
Died of COVID. And then it was like, okay, well, some of these are with COVID.
Right.
All right, well, a car wreck with COVID is not caused by COVID, right? And another doctor who I don't even know if I lined this clip up.
But you got to boost your numbers.
Yeah, another doctor today on the news, and we'll play this clip in a minute. I'm pretty sure it's in the queue. Talks about how we were paying hospitals for COVID. So they were assigning COVID to people that didn't have it. And we know this as a fact.
Well, it's worth $30,000.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so this is this doctor talking about the closed loop that causes us not get to the bottom of medical science and autism and things like that. As soon as it's done buffering. We've gotten to be pretty patient with the buffering. Usually it just takes a second or two, but might have to actually refresh this one. I pride myself in being able to finish a sentence, hit play, and then, here it goes.
Right in my
I don't know, it's just a weird thing. So when it buffers, I'm always so disappointed. Like there's a little part of my heart that's like, oh, show production.
What were we
down.
just talking about?
AI would never allow that to happen. We were talking about the political economy around vaccines and autism and things like that, and how it prevents scientists from getting to the bottom of these serious questions. They're in a bubble.
Let me explain how all this works. This is right in my wheelhouse. This is what I study. I follow the money. Autism is a political economy problem. These are all political economy problems. So let me explain how this works. Thus far, government has failed in response to the autism epidemic because of regulatory capture. Rather than protecting public health, regulators have advanced the interests of the pharmaceutical industry. It's pretty straightforward. Science and medicine have failed in response to the autism epidemic because of epistemic capture. And what I mean by that is that the pharmaceutical industry has captured every step in the knowledge production process in science and medicine. Big Pharma controls what is studied, how it is researched, and what qualifies as evidence. Now, this capture permeates every level of the system. Medical textbooks and curricula are influenced by financially conflicted academics. Universities and department chairs hold substantial pharmaceutical ties. Most clinical trials are conducted by for-profit contract research organizations in China and the Third World. A large share of scientific journal articles are ghostwritten. The pharmaceutical industry spends over $27 billion annually on drug promotion and continuing medical education. Standards of care are authored by conflicted physicians. So from the first day of medical school to the final years of practice, doctors live inside an epistemic bubble engineered by the pharmaceutical industry to increase its profits. Senator Blumenthal and Dr. Scott only pay attention to captured science, science that's controlled by the pharmaceutical industry. The correct answers, the best science, is happening outside of that epistemic bubble. The entire system of knowledge production in science and medicine needs to be overhauled to liberate it from the biases and distortions imposed by the pharmaceutical industry.
They're in a bubble. They're in a Truman Show.
I remember what I was going to say. I was going to say that, remember how we were saying that if you check the box in the hospital as a doctor and you get this $30,000 windfall because it was a with COVID death, isn't that the same thing as checking a box on a mortgage application because it's financially in your best interest? Isn't it the same thing?
Yeah, they're basically saying all the carrots and sticks leading to corruption. This is Dr. Jay Bhattacharya talking about how the hospitals were getting paid for COVID patients. Again, creating this closed loop feedback system that did nothing but promote faulty data, faulty numbers, faulty science, ghostwritten articles. It's just the Truman Show completely.
Mm-hmm. Well, the same people that will check those boxes for their mortgage are the same people that would check boxes for $30,000 of COVID money.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
I mean, I think the official number is 1.2 million, but Secretary Kennedy's right. I don't really know the actual number because, it's just a lot of data issues, but I'll just give you one that's really concrete. If in order to be diagnosed with COVID, it was possible to have a prior test that happened maybe even before you entered the hospital, and you entered the hospital for something else, and then you were still counted as a COVID case. And you're absolutely right also that we paid hospitals tens of thousands of dollars per COVID patient. So they had very strong incentives to diagnose and find COVID, even if the COVID was just incidental. COVID was a deadly disease. It killed many, many, many people. But Secretary Kennedy's right. We don't know the exact numbers, and it's going to be very difficult, if impossible, to get them because the data systems that the Biden administration set up and the incentives they created made the data corrupt in a way that it's hard to disentangle.
Yeah, and of course, most of the people who died from COVID had at least 4 comorbidities. That was according to CDC, but nobody likes
4 comorbidities. Data that was incorrectly reported. We'll never know how many people.
No.
Because,
so,
you can't
remember how I was doing my tally in the beginning of the...
Yes, I do. You're like, this doesn't make any sense, Taylor.
I was basically showing that our local county had cooked the books to turn flu deaths into COVID deaths. And then on top of that, if you just add in like your motorcycle friend who died with COVID
or a pneumonia case, or
right, and so you can boost the numbers by you take that base of the flu deaths and then you just add all this other nonsense on there, and that's how you get to these COVID pandemic level numbers.
I remember yours was like, okay, so no flu. Okay, take last year's flu numbers, add it to COVID.
Yep.
Take last year's pneumonia number, add it to COVID, and then you look at this year's chart, and pneumonia's down, flu's down, everything's down.
Well, flu and pneumonia went to zero.
They went to zero.
They went to zero.
They went to zero. You had pneumonia, they diagnosed you with COVID.
Yes.
You know, it went to yes, exactly. In our local county, you were like, it is impossible that nobody got pneumonia, nobody got the flu, nobody got any of these like 2 or 3 other things that would easily be attributed as COVID.
Right.
And it was like, well, we have an outbreak of COVID. It's
and
like,
so everybody was losing their minds. Everybody's losing their minds because people are just dying like flu this year, like they were last year. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And now nobody gets a cold.
Is it all coded as COVID?
It's all COVID.
They're still getting paid.
Yeah.
They're still getting paid.
Yeah.
The total capture, right? And we've known this. Bernie Sanders has been screaming about this. Populist left socialists have been screaming about this. You know, you've got government control, private companies contracted by the government, not providing public health. Right? They want single payer system. They want something. Why? What are the leftists who are screaming for medical reform screaming for? Accountability. Make them accountable to the state. Like the layers of, you know, public, private, me, the consumer, where do my rights end and where do my rights end versus where is this just a contract with a corporation for medical services? What am I owed? You know, why am I paying so much and I'm not using that? Like everything about insurance, pharmaceutical, medical, it just doesn't make sense from a business perspective unless you purely see it from their perspective of profit.
Financial incentive.
You can't look at it from a Hippocratic Oath standpoint. You can't look at it from a public good standpoint. You can't look at it from an outcome standpoint. You can only look at it from a financial bottom line standpoint. It's the only explanation for chronic illness and why the pharmaceutical companies are doing better and better. Meanwhile, we're getting sicker and sicker. So RFK is doing what he can to try to stop that. And one of the ways to stop it is to stop getting Americans thinking they need every drug here, you know, every single drug on the planet. And if you watch the news, especially, every other freaking ad is a pharmaceutical company. Well, things are about to change.
Telling people what we know and what we don't know. And that was not true of the CDC in the past. It made assurances about things that, you know, they put masks on babies, 2-year-old babies. 3 years, they told us it was science-based. It wasn't. It was a political decision. They allowed all of our schools to be closed. And that order was written by the teachers union. And it hurt working people all across this country. They said it was science-based, but it was a political decision. We're getting the politics out of CDC and returning it to a science-based agency.
So this wasn't the clip, although that clip totally was appropriate.
Brought to you by Fresh Air and Water.
Fresh Air and Water. So what he did in this same outdoor interview outside of the White House is he said, as of yesterday, I think it was going into effect immediately, they are going to require pharmaceutical companies to read all of their potential side effects on their ads on
It's going to be unwatchable.
Their ads will be 4 minutes long. And we'll see if they want to advertise all the side effects, all of the potential side effects.
And they can't hire the Micro Machines guy?
Yeah, they can. It'll be 4 minutes long. Okay, that's what he's saying. So he's like, and somebody made the comment that is as close as you can get to banning pharmaceutical ads on TV without outright banning them, right? By forcing them to say all the side effects, you're not going to have all these experimental brand new drugs out there where they're just trying to create a user base. So that's pretty interesting. So more stuff happened on the pharmaceutical vaccine front yesterday in the congressional hearing. We easily could have done a 2-hour show on that today. All by itself. I mean, it was just fireworks left and right. And we also had simultaneously in the House a hearing on UFOs and space aliens that have been recovered. They're naming names.
Maybe we should have a quick break and talk about some gaming chairs.
We should. I need to take a seat here for a second.
Looking for a comfortable but unique option. Oh, shoot. Looking for a comfortable but unique option for your gaming setup? Check out technosportusa.com with a wide range of ergonomic chairs in an array of colors that will definitely bring your setup to the next level. Always comfy, never boring. Technosport. Use code RUMBLE for 10% off your entire order. Boom.
Some chairs. We know we are going to need some chairs for the new
Yes, we are.
Ooh, look at these things. Ooh, these are fancy. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Oh, the vanilla bunny chair. I like that. Cow gaming chair.
Whoa.
Ooh, if we could just get our audience to grow a little bit, I could get one of these chairs. This looks amazing.
Okay, stop.
No, I'm just saying these chairs are awesome. I think they're going to bonus us on this ad. Man, I like it. I like it.
Game work chill.
Technosport gaming chairs. Wow, those are fancy. Okay. All right, back to Epstein. I'm just saying some of the stuff we promote on the show is pretty good. We do need new chairs for the new office.
Yes.
Just look at that. And we'll use promo code. What was that again? Rumble? Promo code Rumble. Okay. Bill Clinton, a letter to Epstein birthday book among new files released by House Oversight Committee. So this comes from the New York Post. Of course, Epstein had a birthday book. And of all the things that we're going to release to the public, his birthday book.
Okay. There's some CIA guy that's writing this up.
No videos, no none of that. You just got a birthday book where rich and famous people wrote another rich and famous person birthday letters. Oh no, the associations.
We can make these up all day long.
Oh my gosh. So of course there's everybody's making a big deal about this letter from Trump, right? And is it Trump's signature or not? Okay. Trump is denying it's his signature. He's denying he sent anything to Epstein. Carolyn Levitt's repeating that. Byron Donald's, it's a forgery, it's forgery. Then you've got Michael Cohen, who shows when Donald Trump signs a signature professional.
This has all the hallmarks of Russian information.
No, he says when it's Donald, he does and he showed multiple signatures of the time frame where Donald signed it the same. Okay, I don't give up at all. The same book that has Donald Trump's letter, allegedly, also has letters from Bill Clinton and Alan Dershowitz and on and on and on and on. Dude, get over it. This is not the scandal. These are not the droids you're looking for, right? So you got Bill Clinton in there. You've got this letter between Maxwell and whatever his name, Epstein, the pedophile, right? You've got these pictures are kind of interesting. In 1983, a little sketch with him living girls in a balloon. Fast forward to 2003, and these girls are rubbing him down on a beach. All right, that's interesting. What a great country. Okay. Here's Donald Trump apparently wrote him a check for $22,000 when he won some type of something at a golf club at some
charity
point.
event or
Who
something.
gives a crap, man? More and more, they're just trying to smear and connect Donald Trump to everything bad. And so yesterday, this is the press secretary was being asked about, did Trump sign it or not? Here's the thing. I don't know if he did. I don't know if he didn't. It doesn't even matter. In the big scheme of things, doesn't even matter. But it does matter if you're covering something up. If it's your signature, it's a rich person, a secretary for a rich person came to me and said, write a birthday note to another rich person. Okay. Who cares, right? But when you do this,
a professional handwriting expert review of the document released yesterday to prove that it's not the president's signature?
Sure, we would support that. And in fact, I have already seen many forensic analysts of signatures coming out. I believe it was the Daily Signal that published a piece with 3 separate signature analysts who said that this absolutely was not the president's authentic signature. And we have maintained that position all along. The president did not write this letter. He did not sign this letter. And that's why the president's external legal team is aggressively pursuing litigation against the Wall Street Journal, and they will continue to.
Okay. They're trying to take Trump out using the Epstein angle.
This is such a waste of resources.
Bill Clinton was impeached because he lied under oath, not because of what he lied about.
Not because of what he did, but because
of the attempted cover-up of what he did.
What does the word is mean?
Exactly. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, but you did. Well, what does is mean? Yeah. This is one of those situations where the cover-up's worse than the crime, right? I don't know if he wrote the letter. I don't care. It's utterly and totally irrelevant.
Agreed.
Totally irrelevant. However, if you're lying to me about writing a letter 20 years ago, you might be lying to me about the kissing bug virus. And if it came from a lab too. Do we have another Lyme disease on the loose? Right? You might lie to me about, I don't know, bombing a foreign country or
another pandemic
or yellow cake in the Middle East, right?
Or another pandemic.
If you lie to me, the problem is I'm not upset that you lied to me. I'm upset that I can't trust you anymore, right? I don't know if Donald Trump is lying to us about this. The fact of it is irrelevant. It's just simply whether it is or is not a cover-up. I'm yet to be convinced one way or another. Unfortunately, even if they are lying about it, for me, I'm like, okay. But now I got to put you in the camp where I have to second-guess everything you do anyways, which we should already be second-guessing the president no matter what. Okay? But this is Thomas Massie, who to me is becoming the biggest hypocrite in Congress. Absolutely. This man, I'll just say this. It's my opinion that he's turned dark. Okay. I think he's a great guy. He talks about, he's got his little farm. He's everything that we peasants aspire to be. Really, truly. His resume is awesome. At some point after his late wife passed away, he got a new girlfriend who's bad news bears. He starts growing out his beard and he starts becoming this John McCain-esque maverick in the Republican Party that just seems to coincidentally always vote against the mainstream Democrats or vote against the mainstream Republicans, vote with the mainstream Democrats, but maintain some type of middle ground line where he's like, well, it's all principally based, but I've already exposed his fraud because he's the one who let the very bills that he criticizes through committee. He could have been the lone guy stopping it. If you want to be that principled person, that's where you make your stand, not standing outside doing press releases like this.
Do you think that it does bear on the credibility of the people who are trying to keep these documents from being released? I mean, it's sort of indicative of the things that might come out if we were to release all of the files. In other words, embarrassing. But
so basically, he's saying they don't want to release all the files because things might be embarrassing, but maybe not criminal charge or whatever. That's not good enough reason not to release it. I don't have any objection to releasing it other than the fact that, it might bring down the entire world structure. I don't know. I mean... I don't know. You know what I mean? Like if you pull down the house of cards too early before you have a parallel structure built, you're homeless. Yeah. And that's kind of what this Epstein scandal may or may not get to be that big. It might just be a handful of really powerful people. You were mentioning earlier that somebody got some email and Carol got some emails between Epstein and the former prime minister of Israel. I mean, this could be the reason they don't want exposure is because it's a huge op on how Israel was controlling America through Blackville. Captain Harris is out there showing how 9/11 was directly caused by Saudi Arabia, our ally who we continue to defend and sell weapons to fight for Yemen. Boom, 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 boom. Can we stop punching ourselves in the face? Right? I feel like that I'm an oldest brother, so I've unfortunately done this. Right?
I already know where this is going.
I take my little siblings when they're too small to fight back, and I stand in front of the bathroom mirror and I start, taking stop hitting yourself, stop seeing yourself. That's what I feel like the politicians are doing to us as the peasants. They're holding us and they're like, stop hitting yourself. Why are you allied with Israel? Oh, we got to bomb Iran. Oh my gosh, the blowback. Hey, there's yellow cake in Israel. Oh, my friend lost a leg. Oh, darn. You know what I mean? Yes. Sorry to my younger siblings for ever having done that to you, because now as an adult, the government's doing it to me. It's karma. Huh? As Henry David Thoreau says, we load the gun that we hand to them to point back at our head. Right? That's exactly what's going on here. We are learning in rapid pace that almost everything that we have been assured was this you can count on. There are no UFOs. Lockheed Martin's got them. And who's the gatekeeper? Jordan over there. Jordan Rogers. That's the guy. He keeps us from, you know what I mean? Lockheed is sick of keeping this stuff buried. They've been keeping secrets for years. This is what the UFO hearing sounded like yesterday, right? They want to tell the world. They need help with this stuff. It's too advanced for them. They've been working on it for 50 years. They can't crack the code. They want to open source it. So they're like really ready to release the technology. Yeah. Hold on. I've lived my whole life thinking that these were all kooks out in fields getting abducted, right? I've lived my whole life thinking anybody who said anything about aliens was completely disrespected. Turns out they're the truth tellers, right? Turns out it's the medical industry. It's the guys outside of the epistemic bubble that are actually doing real science. Everyone else is just repeating AI-generated talking points, which, by the way, if you don't get into the peasant's pod and start thinking like a peasant, you're going to get sucked up into one of these little ecosystems and not be able to find your way out. Meanwhile, in Nepal, they burnt down their parliament building yesterday. What? Yeah. Whoa. That is their Capitol building. Oh, my gosh. So what happened in Nepal? Okay, I am beyond believing that anything like this is purely and totally organic. All right. They had their big J6 yesterday. So Nepal is an independent nation, sovereign since the Shah dynasty, and they've been a democratic member of the UN since 1955. Now, Nepal has massive influence coming from both India and China. I think mainly China. So the government, what they did was on September 9th, 2025, they were driven by the following reported reasons. So all these protests started here. Government's ban, social media ban. The initial trigger was a government ban on 26 social media platforms, as in WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, and a few more, for not registering with authorities, perceived as an attempt to suppress ongoing anti-corruption campaign. Deadly police crackdown. A violent police response on September 8th, killing at least 19 people, fueled public outrage and escalated protest. So they put a ban on social media. The little students and young people rose up, and the government came out and killed 19 people. Ugh. This is Boston Massacre stuff going on. So anti-corruption demands. Gen Z activists and students demanded an end to widespread corruption within the political establishment. Economic frustration. Protesters sought greater economic opportunities amid dissatisfaction with systemic economic issues and a call for systemic change. Broader demands included accountability from political leaders and reforms to address long-standing public grievances. So here's the damage that happened yesterday. Federal Parliament building. All windows were smashed. Interior and exterior walls were spray painted. Anti-government graffiti and slogans. Fires were set inside in the building and surrounding grounds, causing thick black smoke for hours, which you're watching on the screen now. Then there's the Signa Bar complex. The complex housing the prime minister's office and key ministries were stormed by crowds. Widespread arson led to visible flames and smoke rising from multiple sections. So their parliament building and the prime minister's office. The Supreme Court grounds. Fires were set to the premises with scattered rubbish and debris. The main building sustained less direct damage compared to other sites. They burnt down their Supreme Court. Private residence of politicians, homes of high-ranking officials, including Prime Minister KP Sharma's oil residences, were vandalized, looted, and set ablaze. The unrest led to the Prime Minister Oli's resignation on September 9th, an indefinite curfew in Kathmandu, and a military deployment of guards affected sites. The total death toll reached at least 22, with hundreds of injured protests, and continued on to September 10th. So they're still protesting out there today. Now, let me show you a couple more images. This got pretty rough. This is their finance minister. This would be like Scott Bessent, our treasury director, being marched naked with a baseball helmet through the river while people throw things at him, and his taunter smacks him. That's their Scott Bessent.
Wow.
That's their finance minister being taken through the streets, smacked on the head repeatedly as he's walked naked. That's their Scott Bessent. That's their finance minister. As the parliament's burning down, as the prime minister's house is burning down, and here is another government official being hunted down, stripped, and beaten in broad daylight. This guy, again, another one of their public officials. Broad daylight. None of these guys appear to be exactly what they are. So that is one of their parliament officials being mauled around.
Oh,
pretty rough. So in Nepal, is that organic? Is that really because of the social media crackdown, or is this another one of those yellow revolutions? Or color revolutions?
I don't know.
But Nepal, all I did was shake a gate. I spent 7 years in prison. So I got a 7-year prison sentence. So I don't know. Good luck with that one. All right. And at the same time last night in Poland is claiming they shot down a Russian drone in Poland.
Oh,
there she is right there. Alleged Russian drone shot down in Poland. Polish fighter jets heard defending the skies last night. I don't know. Could have been a fighter jet. Could have been a UFO. At this point, who knows? Who stinking knows? Oh, here's the one that I forgot to play. 315 people develop autism a day, and it's through regression. We're already past that segment. Wow. In another news, one of Ilhan Omar's campaign workers, who was her, quote, enforcer, pled guilty on a pretty big indictment yesterday. Where's the sound? What's going on?
Oh, sorry.
Military service crushed small businesses and turned Minnesota into a child sex change sanctuary. But that's not it. Tonight, we're dropping another Walz bombshell. As governor, Walz let a gang of politically connected Somali fraudsters steal $250 million of your money. It was the single biggest COVID scam in American history. During the pandemic, the government was just giving out money left and right. A nonprofit in Minnesota, Feeding Our Future, got $250 million to send food to needy kids. Sounds good, right? Here's the problem. Almost none of it was used for food. The Somali scammers blew our cash on real estate, cars, extravagant get trips. We have wire transfers that show thousands going to car dealerships. $160,000 went to some company in China. And $500,000 was sent to Kenya to buy an apartment. A $500,000 apartment in Kenya is probably a palace. But our tax dollars weren't just used on goodies. The politicians got a taste too. Ilhan Omar got thousands of dollars in donations from some of the scammers. These guys weren't criminal masterminds. It was sloppy. When they cooked the books, they made up names of their fake clients. They came up with these names. Are you ready? Unique problem. Friday donations. How'd nobody catch that? Well, early on, Walt's administration thought it looked a little suspicious, so they froze the funds. Then the Somalis sued and called Walls racist, so he kept letting them steal. They didn't bother to crack into the bank accounts or issue subpoenas. Walls just put his hands in the air and said, I'm not racist. Take whatever you want. Minnesota has a huge Somali population. You can't get called racist and expect to win another election there. Walls even gave one of the fraudsters the Minnesota Outstanding Refugee Award. 3 years later, she was indicted. Came in after he ignored the problem for years. During the trial, the Somalis tracked down a juror and dropped off a Hallmark bag on their doorstep.
Whoa.
Filled with 120 G's and a little note saying there's more to come if she acquits.
Whoa.
This all happened under Wall's nose. He had every chance to stop it and failed. Just like he failed to protect his city during the riots, and just like he failed his unit when he retired before deployment. This is the guy Kamala Harris chose as her number 2.
Guy who travels to China 20-something thousand times, has accusations from kids about being assaulted by him. Guy who is basically facilitating this Somali scheme, this scam. Guy who, the guy who murdered the politicians in their homes, said that Waltz basically, I mean, I hate to say this phrase, I mean, allegedly kind of authorized and trained him somehow. Okay?
What?
You've got...
I will say,
don't move to Minnesota.
I will say on the Somali front, this guy is an amateur. You know, our governor. Yeah.
Our governor is way better at this than Waltz. Waltz is to this. Our governor is like real sneaky and sly.
Yeah, and he got away with $500 million. Smoking this $250 million numbers.
Yeah,
wow.
$250 million. You got to work with the Nigerians. They'll take you for everything. Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is your government. This is the smoke monster. I like it when the guy's like, the state, I don't know. Names off all these things. You guys are fools, left and right. You guys have created a shell game for yourselves where you can move money between government and NGO and nonprofit, and then it's buying apartments in Kenya and stacks of cash for jurors to acquit. Unbelievable amounts of corruption at the ground level. And our politicians are involved with it, clearly, clearly. Now, the corruption goes super high. Every day we talk about this. Sometimes I feel like I'm beating a dead horse. Even the jobs numbers, right? They were juicing the jobs numbers in Biden's administration. This was a big deal. When I was in prison, I remember when they adjusted down the jobs numbers, and it was like 1 million jobs, 800 and some odd thousand jobs. Were not actually real. And that's when we found out that the net job gains went to immigrants. It didn't go to legacy Americans or, native born citizens. There was like a whole bunch of stuff that all came out, and it was like, oh, this is really bad. Trump gets into office, jobs numbers still not, still being misreported, constantly being adjusted. And now we've had one more adjustment from last year on top of the already downward adjustment.
The data covers from April of 2024 to March of 2025, and it shows the end of the Biden administration was possibly not as big in terms of job growth as first thought of this. Now, the Biden administration, they created in this period 1.76 million jobs. So the 911,000 will be subtracted from the 1.76 million jobs, which comes out to 849,000, showing the Biden job growth not as strong as first thought. This data covers from April.
Devastating. It's devastating.
No, it's just not as strong.
It's not as strong. And there was a lot of concern because the Fed dropped interest rates at the end of Biden's term, but they shouldn't have because the employment data was so good, they really shouldn't have dropped rates.
Nope.
So that led to Trump accusing them that they did it for political purposes. But now looking back, it might turn out that they did it correctly, as if maybe they saw the real data, but knew that Biden was juicing the employment numbers for political reasons. But they did drop interest rates at the appropriate time based on employment data that wasn't published. So were they helping Biden out politically, or were they protecting the Fed, or who the bleep knows?
Yeah.
Right? Now, Scott Bessent had this to say about the Fed and how they're just missing the mark because they got bad info.
If the Fed says they're data dependent and the data has been atrocious, then it seems like there's probably some makeup cuts in order here, or the size of this month's cut needs to be recalibrated. And sure, it could be fixed. Anything can be fixed. You just have to first, we had to establish that it was broken, which President Trump did. Now we have to go about fixing it. And it wasn't working well before, that kind of this lazy notion that they had dropped down to these low response rates, 30-40% response rates, and they intuited the balance. Intuiting the balance is going from quantitative to qualitative. We need good empirical data, and that's it's not easy to get to, but you got to want to get there, and we want to get there. I think EJ is a great person to do it. I've known him for years. He's high integrity, data driven, the ruthless truth pursuer.
Okay, so we might get somebody new in there. But he's right. The Fed's broken. And what did Donald Trump do? Scott Bessent said something in there that was quiet part out loud. He showed that it's broken.
Yeah.
This is part of Donald Trump's MO. He understands. A lot of us peasants, and I hear this from people all the time, why doesn't he just fix it? Why didn't he fix it in his first term? Why doesn't he just go in there and fire everybody? That's not exactly how this works. As Elon Musk says, it's kind of unfixable, right? You can't fix it when everybody thinks it's not broken.
Well, and if the data that you've been using has been, doctored constantly, how do you undoctor the data?
Think about this. If you want to fix the CDC, you can't fix the CDC when the CDC's main purpose has now been to cover up the fact that they've covered up the fact that vaccines cause autism. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you can't come in and fix it until you acknowledge the original sin of lying, because otherwise all you're doing is compounding the lie, but continuing to lie to support the lie to support the institution.
Exactly what I'm trying to say.
Institutionalists protect the institution at all costs, not the people. Last night I started watching the HBO series Chernobyl. First episode, right? Nuclear reactor melts down, and there's a scene where all the communists that are involved in this nuclear reactor are in the basement of the bunker, and the big older communist is taps on his little thing, and he gets up and he goes, "We will be remembered by the state for what we do. The whole purpose of the state is to protect the people, and therefore the state needs to survive, and the state can't be questioned, and the state this and the state that. So nothing's wrong here. Seal off the city, cut off communications. Nothing that happens here escapes, because the state has to care for the people, and therefore the state should be held without mistake." You see what I'm saying? So to protect the people, we need to protect this is the attitude of these gosh dang communists. The state, the state's supposed to serve the people, and the best way the state can serve the people is by existing.
And we can't do any wrong.
And we can't do any wrong, because otherwise then we would be admitting that we're not serving the people. Right. And then he goes on to believe our faith in socialism, in the Soviet Republic or whatever. And I'm like, I could see someone giving that speech to Fauci and whatever. The CDC protects public health, so the CDC must be protected. Right? The military protects you, so the military must be protected, regardless of what kind of shady operations we got going around the world. Right. The Federal Reserve. They keep the economy rolling. I mean, they're not communist or centralized government at all. It's a Federal Reserve. That's not a central bank. Right. We have to protect the Fed. No. What Trump's done is he's come in and shown that it's broken, which creates a need in the zeitgeist for it to be fixed. He's willing to cut with the old and begin with the new. He's a new administration. He's created separation between him and the old administrations, and he has no interest in continuing on their flawed legacy. That creates a huge firestorm, because everybody that's been sucking off the teat for how many years now has an interest in the institution staying strong, because that's where your paycheck comes from. So Trump is going to face huge headwinds. He's done some things that are really good, like the tariffs and whatnot. And yesterday, the Supreme Court decided to take up the tariff.
We have some breaking news just in here to CNN from the Supreme Court. It's pretty significant, and it looks at the tariffs that were put in place by President Trump. Let's get to CNN's Supreme Court analyst, Joan Biskupic. Joan, what is the Supreme Court going to do here?
Very big news. They've decided to take the Trump administration up on its request to fast track the tariffs case. You remember that the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit had said that Donald Trump had exceeded his authority when he imposed these Liberation Day tariffs. But the Trump administration came up to the court and said, don't wait to hear this appeal in the normal course. Take it right away. And today the justices have announced that indeed they will take up this case sooner rather than later. They've required fast track briefing. So the administration and the challengers to Donald Trump's tariffs are going to be submitting briefs over the next couple of weeks. And then in mid-November, the justices will hear the case. And Casey, given the path that the justices are putting this case on, normally, as you know, Supreme Court cases take months of briefing before the oral arguments. They'll hear oral arguments in November, and we could conceivably have a ruling by the end of the calendar year, as opposed to a ruling in the normal course of things that would have taken us to June 2026. And what Donald Trump's lawyers had said, Casey, was if you wait, Supreme Court, till next June, which would be the normal course of things, we might be on the hook for billions of dollars that have been collected in these tariffs that will then have to be rolled back. So what they did was what the administration did was really try to point up the importance of a resolution on this. And not the Trump administration's lawyers, as well as the challengers' lawyers, also had urged the court to take it up sooner rather than later, just because of the uncertainty out there. And just to remind everyone, the tariffs, there's been so many tariffs that the administration has imposed. These date back to what was known as Liberation Day back in April against goods from China, Mexico, and Canada, and where Donald Trump had tried to use his powers under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. And the lower appeals court here had said no, that you overread the powers that the executive would have in that law from the 1970s. And if you want to impose tariffs, you're going to have to do them another way. But bottom line is the Constitution does give Congress the main authority for tariffs. So the Trump administration was trying to have an exception. And this exception may fly with the Supreme Court now, but the ruling that's on the books from the appeals court said, no, it won't. But here's another thing as a pocketbook issue. The tariffs that are in place right now will remain until the Supreme Court rules.
He's going to win that. That's my opinion. He's going to win that. I think it's interesting that reporter had a bunch of monitors in the background with emails open. We'll zoom in. Hey, hit these talking points, pharmaceutical industry. All right, we've got two more things I want to share with you before we head over to private and we start talking about UFOs.
Oh, geez.
So yesterday, the National Farm Security Action Plan was put in place by the Secretary of
But today, we are taking this purpose and our American farmland back. American
we're taking our farmland back. This is a big deal. This bill or this act purports to stop China from buying more farmland and start getting it back from them with 25% fine.
It's not just about feeding our families, but about protecting our nation and standing up to foreign adversaries who are buying our farmland, stealing our research, and creating dangerous vulnerabilities in the very systems that sustain us. Reshoring and nearshoring our food and agriculture supply chain is essential for our nation's security. In coordination with the White House, the Departments of Treasury, Defense, Homeland Security, and Justice, as well as state governors, state agriculture commissioners, local, tribal, and territorial governments, today we announced the USDA's National Farm Security Action Plan. This plan includes 7 key action items, and there's a lot of people here that I want you to hear from, so I'm not going to go one by one, but just very quickly, it's on our website. The press has gotten a preview of it, and we can ask some questions once we finish the main program. But very quickly, and perhaps the most important, the first of the 7 is securing and protecting American farmland ownership, actively engaging at every level of government to take swift legislative and executive action to ban the purchase of American farmland by Chinese nationals and other foreign adversaries, standing on the shoulders shoulders of great governors, 3 of whom are standing behind me, who have already been leading the way on this issue. And at the federal government level, working to do everything within our ability, including presidential authorities, to claw back what has already been purchased by China and other foreign adversaries. Additionally, working with the Treasury of the Secretary of the Treasury, along with our Defense Department, on memorandums to ensure that moving forward, there is a much more intentional look at who is buying what in this country and from where they are in the world. Today, we are taking this
as a peasant tied to the land. It matters who owns the farms. It matters who owns the farms. What a big deal. That is awesome. We're about to go to private, so if you haven't already subscribed to Rumble Premium, make sure you do that really, really soon. And John Fetterman was asked about communism and living in a communist country. And, you know, his party is taking a pretty hard lean to the left, right? With the communists running up in New York, and they're figuring that's probably the only way they can win is go after the economic populists from a socialist side, the young economic populists. So Jayapal and Fetterman were asked about this, and Fetterman has the most cogent answer to communism and what anybody who's taking a serious look at it needs to reassess. And I submit to you that anything that's centralized, Federal Reserve, CDC, where we have these pinch points for all these important things that happen to us. Department of Justice isn't a pinch point. You've got 50 Department of Justices, right? But things like CDC, that is a pinch point. Federal Reserve, that's a pinch point. That's communism, and it creates nothing but bad. And that's what we cover on the show day after day after day. How is the collectivism that we call the United States government failing us?
I literally was in a former communist nation. And I asked that. I said, some people in my party, some of the lefties are talking about socialism now. What do you think? He's like, that's the worst thing ever. You're going to need a reality check if you ever adopt any of those things. You know, like, you are morons.
And we are morons because we have centralized economy through the Federal Reserve. We have centralized medicine through the CDC, NIH, and FDA. We have centralized. You guys are going to need a reality check. We're having one right now. Like what Scott Besson says, Trump has to show that it's broken before you can really fix it. The fact that he's showing the Federal Reserve is broken, the CDC, the Department of Agriculture, the buying of Chinese land, I mean, what else? What else? Our politicians. Scope and scale is immense. This is an organized chaos time. Trump is fighting on like 42 fronts. We could spend all of our time talking about COVID and vaccines and the uncovering of that and how that's dismantling the current institution of medicine, and it's being replaced simultaneously rapidly with new sets of rules and guidelines that actually work against the pharmaceutical companies. Same pricing, right? Better advertising. There's a whole series of things. On the military side, we're not the Department of Defense. We're the Department of War. We're about proactive actions, which makes us reconsider our actions. This is an act of war. It's not an act of defense. Everything the Department of Defense, now the Department of War, does is an act of aggression. Even if it's in defense, it's aggressive, right? Knocking off a boat of drug dealers off the coast of Venezuela is not a defensive measure. That is a proactive act of war because we're at war with Tren de Agua. Whether or not our Congress wants to declare it or not, we're being invaded. Martha, how many apartments is it okay for Tren de Agua to have on American soil? Is two not enough? You know, at what point do we draw the line? So all of this stuff that Trump is doing is revolutionary. He's showing that it's broken, and then he's immediately moving in to fix it and replace it. And the courts are just kind of like, at this point, you know, it's whack-a-mole. We'll stop this one for a little bit, and we'll stop. You can't send the money. Okay, now you can send the money. Okay, you can't fire that person. Okay, now you can fire that person. Okay, you see what I'm saying? They can't stop this. This is Franklin D. Roosevelt in his first 100 days completely changing the federal government, and we stuck with it for 100 years.
But and
here we are doing this.
But we're talking about signatures on a birthday card.
Did he write this risque birthday card?
Have we had somebody analyze the signature?
Okay. This is what.
It's the dumbest thing ever.
You go through like scandals. You got like the Franklin scandal in the 80s and 90s, right? You've got Clinton and Monica Lewinsky and all of his scandals, Uranium One, on and on. You've got Bush, you know.
Yellow cake.
I'm just saying, you know, there's a lot of people who say that Laura Bush had an abortion. I don't know, you know, for the big anti-abortion guy, right? And then you get you get Barack Obama who comes in. Who's Barry Soetoro? Who's this guy? What are we talking about?
Soetoro.
Right? So, who's this? I don't change my name. You know what I mean? And then as Donald Trump tweeted famously, like,
I was born in Hawaii too.
yeah, like all of them have been messed up, and you're worried about some birthday book picture with Epstein. You realize it's like caged in between Bill Clinton and the Prime Minister of Israel, right? You know, like, oh, Trump, he had association with a rich guy that happened to be his direct neighbor. Yeah, okay. So what? All right, guys, that's enough for us today. On the public side, we are going to jump over into the private, and we are going to talk about election fraud in Michigan. The fake faulty electors case was dropped, and Dana Nessel from Michigan is, she's big mad. And I know we have a bunch of listeners in Michigan, so you're going to want to hear this. And then we're going to listen to a couple UFO clips. You are going to be blown away at the admissions in these UFO clips. It's just cut and dry, black and white. There are UFOs, there's extraterrestrial life, deal with it.